I wanted to talk a little bit about zoning in the rural areas and the places you serve. One of the things that is not making all of us have fun these days is zoning. Can you give us some background and how it's working out for you? Are you having fun on the zoning side?
Yeah, not so much fun. We've got a number of steps we have to go through, as every carrier does, to get a site up. And if we're looking at it, we're looking at it's 9 months minimum to get a site up based on the regulations that we have to go through. You have to determine the location. You have to review the zoning requirements. You've got to approach the property owner. You have to establish a lease, take care of engineering. You've got to apply to the FAA. You've got to do an environmental, a national environmental protection agency. You got to do phase 1 with them. Certified survey. You've got programmatic agreements with the federal. You've got the State Historical Society, which is they have to make sure that you get approval through what we call SHPO, which is a real pain in the neck.
So what are you doing to try to expedite in that sense, Pat? Are there techniques or the things you're using that are helping that we can all learn from?
No.
Next panelist, thank you. I wanted to talk a little bit about the new setup at AT&T with the Antennae Solutions Group that you've now come under, as opposed to where you used to reside in the enterprise group. I think it would be helpful for everybody. You might want to talk to that a little bit and give us some understanding of how that's working now.
Sure. As I had mentioned earlier, the In-Building Solutions Group was under sales, and it was primarily focused on enterprise customers, because that was in large part AT&T's focus going back to even the early AT&T Wireless days. However, in recent years, especially with the dominance of data, both outdoors and indoors, it became very clear that there was a need for another organization within the company to look not only at coverage for customer satisfaction, but also capacity, which with the data applications and the data devices like the iPhone and the iPad, it obviously would put a strain on any carrier's data capability.
Earlier, as the turbocharged network, and T-Mobile is using the HSPA Plus technology. And so what I thought we'd do is talk through a little bit about the holistic universe of 4G and all those things. Mark, are you having fun with that HSPA Plus?
I'm having a blast. This is great. So we're having fun, absolutely. And it's probably well situated here to follow Jack. I think that when we talk about the holistic approach, Rich, the view that we have in many ways is it's time to change the dialogue, particularly when we talk about the zoning environment, the jurisdictional oversight boards that we have to deal with. And Jack framed this very well. It's a conversation that's no longer just about coverage, and it's not about paint on the map and do you not have it or do you have it, right? We have to educate the boards that in the oversight groups and the planners and the zoners we talk about that it is about capacity, and it's now about the type of converged device world that Ronan led us through in Ericsson, that world of the vision that might be. Sounded like it was forward-looking to me, but I guess he worked around the legal side of it. We need to change that dialogue and get people to understand it. We need to be simple and concise about it.
How much fun has LTE been so far, and where are you going with it? How's it working so far? And can you give us some backup as to how that's happening?
Sure. I mean, Verizon Wireless is very excited to provide what we believe is a true first 4th-generation technology in LTE in the country, a large-scale deployment. Verizon has showed continued leadership, and I think we're showing that right now by bringing this to market a lot quicker than people thought. A lot of people didn't think this could come to realization so quickly. But when you look at it right now, we have USB air cards, you have MiFis that recently came out in the last week, and you also have a smartphone that's currently out in the marketplace called the Thunderbolt, produced by HTC. So it really has gone very well. Our deployment has been very rapid. We deployed 38 markets in December of this year. We also hit 60 key airports, 60-plus key airports throughout there, and really an attempt to get a substantial deployment out there. This was not a bare bones deployment. If you went around this metropolitan area where you are right here and you drove in New York City and the surrounding areas, you'd find out it's pretty substantial out there. So that was one of the criteria that we used to make sure that we launched.
A lot of people said it couldn't be done. I know some of those people that you built out a DAS network that's working great in New York and is really the sort of the talk of the industry and how you got it done. How's it working? How'd you get it done? How'd you do it?
Well, it's working great. And I guess to answer your question, we're also having fun with a just touch of stress. Okay. So let's go back. Let's look at what is the requirement of the industry today. Number one, yes, coverage. We want to provide coverage to the all in-building users. They are the majority of the users. It has to be looking at the broadband deployment like LTE. And we also want to have the cost per user as low as possible. We are also the industry leader in low-cost provider. And then last but not the least, we don't have time like other carriers, 10 years to build a network. In New York, we built the largest network in less than 18 months, which took other carriers 10 to 15 years to build. We did our LTE deployment in less than 8 months. And so one of the things that was very critical for us, how we can think out of the box, how we can make it happen.